ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond. My name is Dorian from Group82University.com, BasketballCEO.com, and basketball is a love language for me. Today I'm going to talk to y'all about how any high schooler you know who is into basketball, how they can become a college basketball coach. This is the video that I wish I had when I was 16 back in 2000, 2001, when I was getting ready to start choosing my colleges for my junior year in high school, or when I was a junior in high school, because my parents told me, my dad came to me and he said, you ain't going to school out of state. So when he told me that, that pretty much crushed my dream of going to North Carolina. I wanted to go to North Carolina. I was a massive Carolina fan. I was a massive Jordan fan. I was a massive Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace, Antoine Jameson, Ademola Okalaja, Shammond Williams, Dante Calabria, Ann Cota, Brandon Haywood, Joe Forte, Jason Capel, Chris Lang, Ronald Curry. Like, my Carolina bag goes deep. I was a fan. And I wanted to go to Carolina. That's the only school I wanted to go to. My dad said, nah, you got to stay in state because out-of-state tuition's way more than in-state tuition. And then I ended up getting these student loans myself anyway, so I should have went out-of-state. But that's either here or there. I ended up going to Indiana University, and I'm happy I went to IU. So when I chose to go to Indiana University, once I got accepted, I looked at the major list before, but I wasn't really like completely locked into it because I didn't really see anything I liked. So I just put psychology. But once I re-looked at the major list, I really was paying attention and I didn't see what I wanted to major in. I wanted to major in basketball. And I would tell people that and they're like, well, you can be a phys ed teacher. Like, I'm not being no teacher. They make $25,000 a year. I want to major in basketball. Well, you can be an agent. I don't want to be an agent. I want to major in basketball. That wasn't a major on that sheet. But it is a major if you know what you're doing. It's an individualized major. When I was at Indiana University, we had the individualized major program. And I saw it inside of this building called Ballantine. Anybody that's went to IU, you've taken a class inside of Ballantine. And supposedly it was built after the Crest toothbrush or something like that. I don't know. But I remember reading that sign, the individualized major program, IMP. And I looked at those majors on there and it was like world economics and animal cruelty. And I'm like, that ain't what I want to major in. I want to major in basketball. So even in the mid-2000s, this still wasn't a thing. But if you know what you're doing, it is. So like I said, if you know any high schooler or anybody who's in college right now, they're a massive basketball fan. You know that if they could major in basketball, that's what they would do. You could be dating them. They could be your son. They could be your daughter, your cousin, whomever. Friend, send this to them right now, because I ain't heard nobody else talk about this, and this is essential for a lot of people that want to work in basketball. So if I was a junior in high school and my dad told me that same thing, hey, junior, you cannot go to school out of state. All right, I want to major in basketball. I live in Indiana. There are 4 major basketball programs in Indiana when we start talking about college basketball. You got Indiana, you got Purdue, you got Notre Dame, and you got Butler. Because those are the 4 biggest college basketball programs, those are going to be the 4 schools that are probably going to be the best for me to major in basketball. So what I would do is I would make sure that I look at all the academic requirements that it takes to get into those 4 schools. Whatever relationships you got to do, whatever camps you got to attend, whatever, meetings or advisors or alumni or, whatever SAT score, if they still need that, GPA, letters of recommendation, whatever IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, and Butler will want me to do to be accepted as a regular student into those schools, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure I have everything that I need to have, because this is a lesson for anybody who wants to work in basketball. Basketball is attached to school. Anybody wants to play basketball. Basketball is attached to school. There are ways around it, but your talent on the floor or your relationships off the floor have to be able to put you in those positions. So for anybody who wants to work in basketball, you're going to have to do it in a school setting. So you're going to have to make sure that you knock off these academic achievements. I'm going to keep it even more 100 with y'all. My GPA in high school was 2.3. I hated school. I got a 1050 on my SAT. With that said, I got into Indiana University through the groups program, shout out groups, and I got into Purdue as a regular student. Why is that? My SAT score at 1050 was better than the national average for black men. At that time, Purdue was in trouble because they didn't have that many black students at all. So they were really, really recruiting black students at a high clip. I went to North Central High School, which is one of the best public schools in the state of Indiana, and I applied to be a psychology major. So you got a black male with a 1050 SAT who goes to a pretty good high school, who has some extracurriculars, and he wants to be in a major that's low representation for his demographic. We gotta accept him because we need to keep getting this money for the state. And I knew that stuff. So me understanding the groups program at IU and me understanding what Purdue was desperate for, I leveraged that to make sure that I got into college, even though technically with my GPA, I might not have been the person that would have got in as a regular student. This is the same thing at every single school. I wanted to go to the University of North Carolina. Their academic achievements are through the roof, but they had a program just like groups. I was looking at that too. All these schools got something. So you gotta find what it is that you're a minority for, or there's some sort of program specifically for you. They got scholarships for left-handed people, whatever it is, find your way into them schools. It ain't gonna be through the front door, usually not. You're not gonna be able to say, hey, I got a 4.0 and I got this and whoop, whoop, they're gonna let you in. If you can't do that, by all means do that. But for most people, that's not the situation. You gotta find a way to climb through the window, the back door, through the chimney, you gotta hop the fence, and this is gonna be your first time doing that, and this is how you probably gonna have to piece your basketball career together anyway going forward. If this was 16-year-old Dorian all over again, once he got into IU and Purdue, the next thing that I would do going into my senior year, I would go to the IU athletic website and I would contact the director of basketball operations at men's basketball. The director of basketball operations is the person that handles everything that's non-basketball related on the basketball staff. And the thing that is the number one concern of his or hers over the summer is camp. Camp is a massive moneymaker, not for Indiana University, but for coach, at this point, Mike Woodson, because it is written into these college basketball coaches' contracts that they get all the money for camp. If you've ever noticed, it's rarely the Indiana University basketball camp. It's usually the Mike Woodson basketball camp, or the Shaka Smart basketball camp, or the John Calipari basketball camp. Whatever it is, they usually name it after the coach, and the coach has that money go through his LLC, and that used to be the money that the coaches use to pay off recruits. Because although these assistants is making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year at camp at the right school, y'all have 6, 7, 8, 10 weeks of camp like Frank Haith used to do at the University of Miami. You might walk away with $500,000, $600,000. You can get a lot of big-time recruits with that type of bag. But now with NILs, you ain't got to do that. Camp is crazy. Camp is a madhouse. And the thing about the director of basketball operations, he needs people that he can depend on to work camp. At a school like Indiana University, they're not just going to have the basketball staff working camp, and them coaches ain't going to be doing nothing. All their GAs are required to work camp. That's where they're going to get paid. Anybody that wants to be a manager at Indiana University or is a manager is going to be working camp. Anybody that wants to develop relationships with those coaches, so high school coaches, AAU coaches, whatever, small college coaches, they're going to be working that camp as well, and people in the local community. So there's a lot of free staff. I don't want to say free staff because I'll say they're free because they don't have to pay to hire them, but they do have to pay them for their work. There are a lot of open positions to work camp. So as a junior in high school, what I would do, so I would email whoever the director of basketball operations is at Indiana University. I say, hey, my name is such and such, such and such, and I'm a 16-year-old junior at blah, blah high school. Now, the reason that I'm saying put your age in there because 16-year-old to a director of basketball operations is going to trigger one or two thoughts. A, he's going to read your email. He's going to think that you're a recruit and that you're trying to get a scholarship. That's the first thing. Or secondly, he's going to read this, and if you put in the subject line like junior in high school wants to work camp, or, I'm looking to work camp, I'm interested in being a coach at camp, whatever headline you want in that subject line, once you put 16-year-old in that first sentence, he's like, oh my goodness, a 16-year-old camp worker? What? So I would say, hey, my name is Dorian Clark. I'm a 16-year-old junior from North Central High School. I've gotten accepted into Indiana University through the Groose program. I'll be coming next summer, but I want to be a college basketball coach, and I want to be a manager at Indiana University, and I understand the work ethic, I understand the sacrifice that it takes, and I understand that camp might be a big part of what y'all do. I would love to come up and work camp this summer if I can. If you guys can provide me with a room, my parents are ready to sign off on whatever waiver that they need to sign off on. Since I'm only 16, I'll stay down there for the week, and whatever you want me to do, help work in camp, I will do that. Okay, let me know. I would email that to him at Indiana University. I would email that to him at Purdue. If I got into Notre Dame, I would email the director of basketball operations at Notre Dame, and I would email the director of basketball operations at Butler. Whoever emails you back first, that's probably the school and the staff that you need to go to. That's probably where you need to go. Because he understands, first of all, he reads emails. Secondly, he's organized. Third, he wants to give you an opportunity. He understands what this is. Because as a director of basketball operations, I've been in that position. Someone who emails you like that, and they understand the problems that you have, they understand how big of an undertaking camp is, and they understand that you're going to be really loyal and ready to work and take orders, that's a director of basketball operations dream. A 16-year-old, I mean, man, we're going to have you picking up pizzas. We're going to have you clean up the gym. We're going to have you running drills. We're going to have you picking up the coach and dropping off. We're going to have you doing all types of stuff because we're going to be caught up doing so many other things. To have another set of hands is amazing. Once you get invited down there, and he says, yup, we're going to bring you up, whoop-de-whoop, we're going to have you stay here, whatever. When you get to camp, this needs to be the hardest you've ever worked in your life. The hardest you've ever worked in your life. If they say you need to be here at 8 a.m., you need to be there at 7. If they say that we're going to be done at 8 o'clock at night, you don't leave until the director of basketball operations leaves the gym. After camp and late at night, they might go to restaurants and go get drinks and stuff. You're not going to be able to do that. You need to go back to the dorms. You need to get your sleep. You need to be right back into it. They need to know that you are someone who's reliable, who's smart, who can execute. That's all that they're trying to see. If you do a phenomenal job that week, not only will the director of basketball operations have a great relationship with you, he's going to introduce you to other coaches, and he's probably going to introduce you to the head coach as well. So now you have a relationship with Mike Woodson, just like that, at 16 years old. And your relationship didn't come from your daddy. Your relationship didn't come from your basketball coach back home. Your relationship didn't come because some alum suggested you. Your relationship came from your own merit and your own work ethic. Now that you've established that relationship with that staff, they are now going to be including you to be a manager for when you come in. You still got to earn your manager way. You still got to earn your way into becoming a manager on the basketball team. That's the next step. But now you have an inside track. Because my senior year, that's when I decided to go into coaching, and I knew you had to be a manager. I was like, here we go. So I did not want to be a manager, man, because I'm a player and I'm a coach, and my mentality is like, I'm just not a manager. But I understood, humble beginnings. I went to that manager meeting at the beginning of the year. It was 25 people in there for like 7 manager spots, because this is Indiana. I'm like, I'm not about to compete with these kids. I'm a senior. I'm here kicking it. I'm going to find my way to basketball some other way. But if you have a leg up because you did everything you're supposed to do at camp that year before, now when you walk into that manager meeting, they know exactly who you are. When you decide to go to that school, when you decide to go to Indiana University, I would keep my relationship with the staff throughout the year. And when it's time for you to pick your dorms, I would hit the staff up. I would hit the director of basketball operations up like, hey, I'm about to choose my dorm for the upcoming year. Is there a specific place that the managers usually stay? Or, I don't have a roommate. Is there somebody that y'all would want me to room with? Is there a player that's from out of state that needs a roommate or whatnot? Now, if I'm a coach and I'm a director of basketball operations and I have worked with you before and I know you have a good work ethic and I know that you're smart and I know that you're going to be a part of our staff and you're looking for a roommate, the first thing I would do is I would put you with our most highly touted freshman. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I know you're going to be responsible. You're going to room with him. You showed up at 7 o'clock when you were supposed to be here at 8 every morning as a 16-year-old. You're going to be doing the exact same thing when you're 19 and 20 as a manager. At least that's what I'm thinking. And if you're getting up that early, if you're that dedicated to the program, if you're that dedicated to the coaching staff, that's going to spill over to this highly touted freshman too. In addition to that, now, since you're a manager, you're living with our highly touted freshman, you're essentially an espionage. You're essentially a spy. And this is where you got to learn how to nurture that relationship, because this player is your roommate, so y'all need to have trust. So the coaches don't need to know everything, but you also got to understand that these coaches are going to be the ones who are going to help you get your job down the line. So now you're able to give them information. So now you have just made yourself an extremely valuable asset to this basketball team before you even started a class at Indiana University. You're already a manager, or about to be, because you work camp and they trust you, and they trust you with one of the most valuable assets that's a part of their basketball program, their most highly touted freshman. And now for 4 years, you need to be the best manager possible. You need to be working guys out. You need to be holding the other managers accountable. You need to be washing clothes. You need to be wiping up the sweat. You need to be getting guys extra shots late. You need to be breaking down film. You need to be helping coaches with their recruiting. You need to always be around. And this is going to cause you to have to shift your entire college process, your entire college enjoyment. I couldn't have done this when I was in college. I was kicking it too much. I was having way too much fun. You are majoring in basketball now. Your major isn't in the classroom. It's in that arena. It's in the basketball offices. And as y'all have heard me talk about on other episodes, coaches work a lot of hours. They're in their offices every single day. 8, 10, 12, 15, 18 hours a day. It matters. The more that they see your face, the more that they trust you. When you go to a school like Indiana University and you work in a basketball office like Indiana University, the assistant coaches who you work with in the beginning, those aren't going to be the assistant coaches that they're going to be there your senior year. That head coach might be gone. There's another thing you got to think about too, is picking a good head coach. But what's going to happen is every time that those coaches leave, now they're going to a new staff, and they know you. So these are going to be more opportunities for you. So you need to be the absolute best manager you can be. You got to dedicate yourself to that program, and it's going to be hard. This ain't going to be easy. Being a manager, an elite manager who ends up becoming a head manager that the coaching staff depends on, that's not going to be easy at all, at all. Our managers at VCU were very important. Rafiq, he was very important to what was going on at VCU. My managers at Jacksonville, the GA, Josh Balin, and our manager, Big Blue, they were very important to what I had going on. So it's going to be very difficult. They're going to get on you. They're going to yell at you. They're going to cuss you out. They're going to make you feel like you the worst. When you make mistakes, they're going to make you feel like you about to get fired, kicked out of school. You're going to forget stuff. You're going to have things go bad on road trips. Ask anybody who's ever been a college basketball manager. They got stories for days. But they're also going to trust you at an exceptionally high level. And in this business, that's what gets you jobs, is being trusted. Once you graduate, you need to also be a graduate assistant or a graduate manager with that same program. I wholeheartedly believe that. If you want to be a GA and go get your master's somewhere else, okay. But I wholeheartedly believe you should be a graduate assistant with that program, because now you're going to get your master's for free while you know everything, the ins and outs of that program. And now, since you're a GA, you've been a 4-year manager, people are going to be associating you with that program that ain't even there anymore. And once you get your master's, you'll be able to write your own ticket. You want to be a college basketball coach? Here you go. You want to work at an agency? Here you go. You want to work with Nike? Here you go. You want to work for an NBA team? Here you go. Because these people trust you. How many assistant coaches have you worked with in the past 5 years? How many basketball support staff people have you worked with? How many players have you worked with? How many players have you coached? You in Indiana, some of the dudes going to the NBA. They need help with something. Now you in it. You've majored in basketball, and now you've set yourself up to get a job. And if y'all think this is crap, y'all think I'm making this up, y'all think this is a 1 in a million, I want you to really go to hoopdirt.com. It's a website, hoopdirt.com. It's all the college basketball coaching rumors. And go look at all support staff members that are being hired, right, at these schools. Go read their biographies. Go look at where they started. Go look at what they did. A lot of these dudes, you're going to see a lot of 4-year managers. 4-year manager at Duke, and now he's an agent. 4-year manager at Kentucky, and now he's the director of basketball operations at LSU. I'm not saying that's him, but it happens all the time. That's how you major in basketball. So it's possible. It's just a matter of you're going to be responsible enough to do it. But don't say you weren't ever told. I'm out the pond. Y'all stay true.